Welcome to the next episode of the eCom Growth Show. I'm your host, Danan Coleman, founder of eCom Triage, co-founder of Catalog Defender, ecom.events, and with me, I have a special guest. Her name's Kitty. We've known each other now, what, Kitty? 4+ years?
Yeah, about four years.
Yeah. And she is someone that does branding. And that sounds very light. It's not. She's like the uppermost tier of branding people that large brands come to for help, and has built her own brands, nothing to do with Amazon, although she was there. And funny story, Kitty, I have been a model for one of your brands.
You have, yes, my sunglasses, my sustainable sunglasses. But
That's
yeah,
right.
they're amazing.
Yeah. So, before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so I am the creative director and founder of Me Brand. So we help a lot of e-com businesses, online retailers, with their packaging design, their graphic design, and their branding. And I work with a lot of Amazon sellers to help them start up their brands, get it to launch. And so I create a lot of design identities and the packaging for them, which helps them elevate and position themselves in the market. So that's essentially in a nutshell what I do, but it's something I'm passionate about, and I've been doing that for over 25 years. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
here to talk about branding.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's something that is a terrible oversight on many brands' parts, is actually having a brand put together. Like, for instance, with Ecom Triage, I've even thought about changing the branding, but I had a buddy just kind of ask me, like, what kind of colors? I'm thinking, well, I mean, I'm triaging things, so maybe more towards medical field colors. And so he came up with the red and blue. But then, and then of course he created the logo, which is like the E facing up and the T on top. And I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But he also provided me with this entire document that went over fonts, what colors are okay, what colors are not, and basically built me brand guidelines. And it was the first time in my life that I'd ever seen brand guidelines. I'm like, this makes so much sense. Like, if I ask somebody to build me a web page, they know I just say, "Here are my brand guidelines."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crucial for any company or business or brand that if they don't have a guideline, this is the brand Bible. This is
Yeah,
what goes. If your company or the people that work with you, the people that you work with, don't understand what your vision is, what your colors are, the fonts, the messaging that you want to convey, and your values, there's no point. I mean, you're going to struggle with mixed messaging. So yeah, having a brand guidelines completely, it is essential.
yeah. And I found it to be extremely easy because even in partnerships, people go, "Hey, we wanna build a page. Here's my brand guidelines."
Yeah, there's no more guessing. You
Yeah,
know what font they're using. You know what color palette they've got. So, it just makes everyone's life so much easier rather than, oh, I think that blue is this blue. And then, you get it wrong. But saying
yeah.
that, sometimes the printers will still get it wrong. You give them a Pantone color and you still have to see the samples and products because colors printed on different substrates do actually come out different. So,
Yeah,
that's a completely different story.
it is. And you know what? Why don't we, for those that, because Pantone is not something that's common in our industry, can you define what Pantone is?
A Pantone is like a mixed color palette, and it's Pantone is a big company that obviously they've built their color palettes through actually having proper mixed colors. So it's quite complex. I have like different types of Pantones. So the Pantone set out is solid colors. So solid colors, like say for example this shade of aqua, that will have one set tone, and that you will go by that color reference. But it will also have CYMK. So this is where things get a bit more technical, and digital is usually CMYK. That's basically cyan,
I
magenta, yellow,
I
and black.
always used RGB.
RGB. So RGB. So that's one thing, one lesson.
Yeah.
RGB is generally for digital. So if you're designing a website,
Mhm.
designing anything visually online that you see on a computer screen, RGB is what you'd use. CMYK on the other hand is what you'd use for print. So the printers are
Ah,
set up. The printers will have these inks, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and they print these little dots. If you look close enough with a magnifying glass, you'll see those dots made up, and that will make your color.
yeah,
And so there's two different types of Pantones. There's the full color process, which is CMYK, and then there's the Pantone, which literally there's no dots. It's really sort of more exclusive and just a solid color. So, like you would go to a paint shop and get that color of paint. That is it. That is your Pantone already mixed up, ready to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then if I'm not mistaken, Pantone releases a new series of colors for the year every year, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So they've got
Mm,
this coppery, rustic, sort of bronze color this year. I mean, it changes
okay.
every year. Last year was lilac. Oh, and,
Yep.
and actually, there was actually, no. Next year is the rusty brown color. This year is actually a cloud. It's just a white cloud, but it comes and goes every year. There's always a color, but a
Yeah.
lot of fashion brands will use these colors in their palettes, and a lot of other businesses will influence it through their marketing as well. But
Yeah,
in terms of packaging and branding, you can use whichever palettes you want, but
of
depending
course.
how trend led you are.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, pro tip for those of you who dress well, not this guy, if you want to know what to wear and what color schemes to wear for the year, you go to Pantone. I think it's pantone.com,
That's correct. Yeah.
Pantone.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you can be in the know. But me, I'll still wear cargo shorts and t-shirts my whole life, much to my wife's chagrin. Okay, so Kitty, I think there's so much we could talk about on branding. Let's go let's go into why it's critical to have good branding. And I've got a few questions for you. I've got 5 questions, but I'm going to have 500 more. But
Right.
we'll try to keep this episode to about 20 minutes ish. So let me just dive into the questions. Question one is this: why do so many successful ecom brands start to plateau as they scale, even when sales are strong?
Right. So firstly, it's when you have unclear message, so that's generally often the symptom, but it starts internally. So within your team and your company, if you don't have a clear brand ethos, if you don't have the culture that represents what your brand is all about and the values, you're going to fail. And to be successful, you need to have the vision there as well. So this is all part of your brand guidelines, actually, as we mentioned earlier. But having a vision in terms of where you're going with your brand, what does your business want to do? What does your brand, what does it stand and represent? Mission, how are you going to get there? So you set yourself a mission as well. And, if this isn't shared properly, it's going to reflect, badly on your business and on the brand. And that's where cracks begin to show as well. So a strong brand is built from the inside out.
Makes sense. And for the record, this is the way I've never done it. And I have definitely come across issues. I take that back. I've never done it this way until Ecom Triage. And that definitely did create issues. So I would come up with a logo. Let's say, I don't know, Adventure with Danan. It's my other life. It's my off-road adventure channel, right?
Mhm.
And people would say, "Well, do you have any stickers or patches?" Like, "No, I'm just Adventure with Danon," you know? And, so I went out and I created a logo, and it's circular, but that doesn't always work. So you need variations of your logo that fit on different in the Amazon world, different types of packaging, but also digitally for, if you're gonna run meta ads, maybe you need a square logo, a 1 by 1, you know, or maybe you need 4 by 3 or 3 by 4, and you should have logo variations of that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So when I create logos for my clients, we have a brand family. So you create that. So like you're absolutely right. Digital will have a completely different setup for your logo. On print, if you're going to emboss something, that's going to be slightly different as well. So yeah, it's really important you have a brand family, and once that's locked in, then that's it. And so some people really worry about, oh my God, I've got a different logo here. I've got a different version here. I mean, as long as it's locked in and everybody knows that, this particular logo is just used for packaging, and that's the logo style we will use. This is the logo we're going to use for all our marketing literature, and that's what we're going to use. So it's locking in having a brand family and making sure that's within, again, the brand guidelines. So,
Yeah.
everyone understands that.
Yeah, cool. And then next question is this. What's the difference between a brand that looks good and one that actually performs commercially?
Oh, that's a tricky one. So commercial brands, they are generally memorable and they are confident and they have a solid message. So again, it starts with the brand DNA, understanding what your brand's all about, who you're targeting, and also your brand position. So if you're in the commercial market and you don't know where you stand in the market, then you're going to fail. So successful brands do know where they stand. They do know what their consumers want. They do know what their brand does best. So it's not appealing to all. It's having that concise and consistent message as well.
Cool. Yeah, so you said something that brought something up to me. Appealing, they know what their customers want, right? So appealing to the customer preferences. That is something that I've seen a lot of Amazon brands fail because the brand creator gets an idea and goes, "This would be a great idea," and they utterly fail. Now it can go the opposite way as well, but they utterly fail because they don't even realize that people don't even want that.
Yeah, I've seen it far too many times, and I've worked with a lot of brand owners in the commercial world, and also a lot of brand owners at the moment as well, and it happens a lot. So my job is to make sure that I direct them in a sense that this is what will work, and this is what wouldn't, and I still give them the option to choose and show them and prove to them that
Mm,
actually this is why I'm suggesting this and recommending this. You will see the difference. And a lot of times my clients say, no, you're right, completely right. Yeah, thank you. But I do know what I'm talking about. But it's hard because it's your baby. When you're a brand owner, you want to have this direction, and you do generally get swayed. It's like, oh, I've seen this, I really like that, and they're doing this, I want it. But you should know what your competitors are doing right and best at. Then you should differentiate, and that's what people get caught up in. Is like, oh, I've seen this, I really like it, and it's hard when someone's fixed on a particular color or a particular font or a particular look and feel. So it's it has to match what your brand values and what your brand stands for and what your messaging is. So yeah, don't
yeah,
get swayed for too many things.
yeah, and also don't be unwilling to change things if survey shows it needs to be changed. That's also
Absolutely.
an important one.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves, and this is just, it goes straight back into whoever created the brand goes, "Oh, I love this," is logos you can't read. You like if you look at any of my logos, they're all very clear and they all only have one or two colors. Well, except for ecom.events. I'm playing with like this, I don't even know the color swirl thing. But anyhow, that's an aside. But like it's all sans serif font, I think. Yep. Except for Down for Adventure. That was a custom font. Um but they're easy to read. I'll tell you, one of the areas that is the most egregious about this are tattoo places, right? At least in America. So with tattoos, that swirly font, almost like
Like
uh,
calligraphy. So they,
calligraphy.
yeah,
Yes,
hand
yeah,
drawn. Yeah.
yeah, and it looks great. But they also like to put like skulls and crossbones and whatever else. And then the logo gets so busy that it looks like a bunch of scribbles as you're driving past and you don't know what it is.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it's, like a tattoo shop. I mean, I haven't seen many tattoo shops in the UK, but if you're talking about the logo of a tattoo shop, it still needs to say what it is as well.
Right.
Tattoo, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But in terms of the logo, I mean, the logo can be anything, but I would recommend obviously simplicity. So, like you mentioned, you had one or two colors, which is perfect. Doesn't mean you can't have a few colors as well. So it really depends on what your brand is and what it's
Yeah.
all about. But, a lot of times I would think that you shouldn't be too obvious on certain things. Like for particular industries, actually, I'm talking about.
Mm,
So, for example, real estate. Everyone puts their logo, whatever it's called, and then they put a house on it. Do not do that. I mean, that you are going to look like every single realtor in the US, right? So do not put a house or a building on it because don't do that. That's not good branding or design. It's not. It's just being literal. And that's something that you shouldn't really do. It's coming up with something quite memorable. And if you look at a lot of the really successful brands, they don't have that. They have a single simple icon on certain things, and they won't be as obvious. Like Airbnb, they are obviously to do with renting and stuff, but it's more like a heart and stuff, and it's completely different, but it's memorable. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. At least I'm doing things in the right direction for my own stuff.
Mhm.
Um, all right, let's go into more questions, and then I want to take some time to just like ask you pointed questions about branding. So the next question is this: what happens when a brand is launched without a cohesive plan in place? And to give you an example of what I'm asking, using a whole bunch of different contractors, one to create their Amazon listing, one to create the packaging, one to create the website, another one for marketing, and then they start playing with AI image generation, and then.
Right. So let's use this an analogy: sports teams.
Okay.
Right, you go in a sports team, and someone comes from a different county, someone else comes from a different school, and someone comes from it, and that you'll put these people together. They're all playing for the same team, but no one knows each other. No one's talked to each
Mm,
other. They just come together to play this game, and without something that they have some consistency together. I mean, having different departments not talking to each other is gonna create a really poor message to the audience. The audience are going to be disappointed. They will lose trust, and also you'll have really bad messaging and a campaign that you're going to create as well. So it's really important that someone pulls it together, like a coach. So you'd have naturally you have a brand lead or a creative director to pull these departments together. Because if you are going to be launching on Amazon, and then you're on Shopify, and then you've got packaging designers designing other things, and then the marketing team. If no one's talking to each other, that is not a business at the end of the day. You're not creating a proper brand. You cannot create a campaign that anyone trusts or understands, because all the messages will be mixed. You might be saying the same thing, but the message is completely different. So, y- you know, y- everything's going to get lost in translation. So building a brand is really important that you do know what you're doing as teams. There needs to be someone that pulls everyone together, like a coach, like a creative lead, a director.
yeah, makes sense. You know what I can't help but getting mentally stuck on as you're saying all of this
Yeah.
is how Amazon, from a team perspective, operates in the complete opposite fashion. So they silo all of their teams. And then what my observation is what you get is all these teams working on the same or similar projects that overlap with each other. And so there's no responsibility and then there's no control. Oh, no, no, no. That line of code is that team over there. This line. So there's not a well, there must be some sort of overarching team that says, "Okay, this is your listing page, your Amazon listing page." But what I found out is that different fields, when you're building a listing, are the responsibility of different teams. And that's why when they make updates, it can break your listing because one part of the page got updated and they pushed some code and it broke one thing. And it's because they didn't talk to the 30 other teams responsible for all these other fields and are supposed to make this one cohesive page.
Yeah, that's the trouble with when you have such a big team, but there needs to be a project manager or someone that manages over the overseer,
Yeah.
someone that
Yeah.
oversees everything, that understands each department, that pulls together.
An arbiter.
An arbiter, absolutely, and they need to know what's going on. When I used to work in at Ted Baker, I used to manage the creative design team, and that is within the marketing. But I would have to talk to the stores. When are you getting your point of sale? Then I'll have to talk to the US or the Australian team. This is what we're designing. This is what we're going to launch. I have to talk to the merchandise team in terms of understanding what products are we promoting. Then also the warehouse, and I'm talking to shipping teams, and I'm talking to all these departments, even though though I'm in the design department, they
Yeah.
still have to know what is going on. And it's really important that different departments communicate, and that's
Right.
down to the brand owner as well. So if they are still physically involved, then they need to have someone in that seat that pulls all these projects together, whether
Yeah.
it is the coding on the Amazon, whether it is the Shopify store, whether it is the social media as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, and this is no fault of their own because it's just a learning experience, but a lot of people that are creating a brand for the first time, they get focused on one area, which is just sales, right? And they forget or they haven't yet learned that you are running an organization, right? It may just be you, but it's an organization composed of jobs that need to be done, and each job needs to flow smoothly into the next department or division of your company. So any company should have a particle, whatever that thing is, whether that's a product coming in and then turning into a customer and dollars and then turning into repeat business and so on and so forth. It needs to flow through your company, through your brands smoothly, through your organization. And so let's take that concept and go back to what I said earlier with an a non-cohesive plan. Incohesive, sans cohesive, whatever. Um, so without cohesion, what you have is a mess of things that are happening, right? Like, oh, I needed to create this. Oh, you're creating that, and they don't talk to each other. So the next pointed question is this: what's the risk of not having a creative or brand lead?
You end up firefighting a lot actually, because you know if you
Mm,
don't know what you're doing, you're gonna, oh my god, we've got to do the social media now. Who's going to be doing that? We'll get someone,
mhm,
a freelancer to do that. Let's get them on there. The freelancer doesn't know your brand. You might have used someone like 12 months ago that did something great, and then now they're busy. Then you brought someone else on because you wanted to save on cost or something. They don't understand your brand. So if you, again, brand guidelines, they need to have that, but still, it's that brand DNA in really sort of them understanding what your brand is. They can do great stuff. But again, if someone's not leading the project, you could have so many mixed designs. They might create something completely different that's off brand, and that's not helpful. And then again, you're going to have to fix that by spending more money and then finding somebody else. So yeah, having someone that can lead the direction and understand that, it's really important to have people in particular seats, and that's really important for a business. And I completely understand when someone's starting as a small company, starting up, they do sit in all those seats. But it's really, you have to do a bit of homework. And we've all been there. We've all set up a business and created and learnt as well. So, by, being on this podcast and people are learning from this as well. So the mistakes that we've all made and the knowledge that we're passing on, it's crucial that people do a bit of research and have someone in that creative. I know I'm a bit biased actually, being a creative person, but it's important because that's one of the touch points that people look at when they look at your brand, when they look at your product. It's really important that you make a connection with your audience as well. And it's not just about having a pretty logo, it is all about building the brand, and that extends onto 5 years, 10 years. You want a long-term vision for your brand, not just, oh, I'm just going to make sales this week and next week, and having a
yeah.
short-term vision.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one last question here. How do you evolve a brand that's working without losing what made it successful?
Okay, so feedback is always crucial. So if you have got an audience that you're appealing to, then do ask for feedback, because they if they already love your brand, that's great. But then it may be asking, what can we improve on? Um, but I wouldn't reinvent the wheel completely as well, because a lot of people get bogged down to thinking, oh, we need to change the logo now we need to change this. And it's not the case. It's just changing a few things. Don't fix what's broke, but evolve it with the times and find a new way. So it could be things like, perhaps you're successful, you've grown your brand. Now what? Perhaps partner with other people as well, other brands. Maybe it could be a case that you want to give something back to the environment. or something, or bit to charity. So you can involve your brand that way. And then your audience are thinking, wow, they're really doing something about their brand and you're growing bigger. And, I think your audience would probably care about that as well. So it's going back to your brand and mission. Perhaps you've met those goals. Perhaps you've met the vision already and the mission. So go back, change it, tweak it. What are we doing next? What's the next big thing? Because the last 5 years, we've got there. We're here
Yeah.
now. So revisit that vision and mission, and that's how you evolve, because that's how you can keep growing. Because it's like, now what? What are we planning for the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Is and I brought this up a couple of times. Once I haven't done a whole lot of on stage speaking engagements, but I had a company and friends that ran the company that they learned my story about how I got into Amazon. And like, you have to get up on stage and talk to people about this. I'm like, absolutely not. And they, no, 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 no. Like, please do. So it happened to be here in Tampa, so I brought my wife with me to sit on stage to, like, be like, "Yeah, that didn't actually happen, honey. This is what actually happened, people." But, one of the things that I wrote down as one of my slides was, "Don't forget to set the next goal." You know? It's critical because you make a point, you're like, "Don't get comfortable."
Yeah.
Right? It's time to expand to the next thing. In this life, on Earth, in this universe, you're either going up or you're going down.
Yeah, and the climb is hard. It's not easy. I mean,
Yeah,
set those goals, set those challenges, because, if you've met it, yeah, don't get complacent, don't get lazy, because, there's always up. And that's the challenge of life, really, is to really sort of make a thing of it. So, yeah.
yeah, I love it. Well, Kitty, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Where can people find you? Well, actually, perhaps I should ask first. Are you available to us lowly small brands out here?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I work with small, medium, large brands. So it's I love working with startups, and I love working with the founders
yeah,
directly as well. So yeah, so big, small, medium. I'm happy to work with everyone.
I love it.
Yeah. So if you want to find me, you can find me at mebranddesign.com. So that's my website, and just add Kitty at mebranddesign.com, and you can sort
For
of
your email.
email me directly if you want to.
Awesome. Well, Kitty, thank you for being on here. I wish we had more time, but we're almost at 30 minutes. I just have so many questions about like how should I think about starting a brand? What do I need to take into consideration and all that stuff? But you know what? I'll leave that to the people that are interested in talking to you. So thanks
Great.
for being here today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. See you later.
Bye.